Day on the show. So,
Okay,
but
we won't tell anybody.
Don't tell
We won't
anybody.
tell anybody. Scott Morris, who's always moving and shaking in the house. We love when Scott joins us here on the I Love CVille Network. Scott, how you feeling?
I'm feeling fantastic. Good morning, all.
Good morning to you. We'll talk about the CPI numbers. Scott's got a take on this. He's got a take on a lot of things. That's what we like.
Everything.
That's what we like about Scott Morris. Kevin, how you feeling right
And
now?
the hair
I'm doing pretty
looks
good, except for I'm a little
just
upset
right.
that you didn't mention my little Christmas sweater I got
I
going.
like
You
his
went straight to
Christmas
the
sweater.
tie, but not the sweater. I mean, I try to, be festive today.
We like his sweater, don't we, Keith?
I love his sweater. Half of the proceeds of this goes to St. Jude. That's the reason I bought it. So
Gotcha.
it's pretty
Nice.
Very nice.
neat
Very
organization.
It's very generous of you.
Yeah.
Very generous of you, Keith. Oh, he's got the crystal ball coming.
We actually have 5 people on set.
There is a crystal ball on set. Get ready for that. Judah Wickower, we can start the program when you're ready. Good Friday morning, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to Real Talk on the I Love CVille Network. Thank you kindly for joining us. We are live in Charlottesville, across Central Virginia, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world, of course, on this network. Today is Coffee with the Stakeholders, and we have 2 stakeholders on set with us that I think are very entertaining, informative, and let's go well-dressed. And that's some props to Kevin Wilberger here. And why don't we go to the studio camera and welcome everyone to the show. Keith Smith, we love this guy, the star of our show, the principal of Yes Realty Partners, one of the principals of Yes Realty Partners. Scott Morris, who I rarely say this, may have a better manicured set of hair than Keith and Jerry.
No. It's between you two.
I mean, he's looking on point right now.
Yeah.
He's flossing.
I'm in 4th place, okay? I'm in 4th.
Well, you're in first place with the sweater, though.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're in first place with the sweater. This is Kevin Wilberger, who I can already tell is going to fit in quite well and is just my kind of guy. All right, so we'll get out of your way, Kevin. Introduce yourself to everybody that's watching. Then Keith is going to have something really witty to say, I can tell. First, Kevin,
I need another sip of coffee.
Yeah,
Keep
All right,
on going.
go ahead and do that. I'm Kevin Wilberger. I'm the branch manager for the Long & Foster Charlottesville Old Ivy office and the Long & Foster Stanton Waynesboro office. I'm excited to be here to talk with you guys today. I think we're going to have a lot of fun talking interest rates, talking real estate, talking about 2022 and where we're going to go with everything. So I'm excited, and I'm drinking my coffee, which everybody in my office knows. Always have my coffee.
Shenandoah Joe's.
Yes,
Shenandoah
very
Joe's.
good.
One of
Very
the
good. Shout
partners
out,
of the
yes.
show.
Wonderful, amazing coffee. Been drinking it for I don't know how long.
Good
There we
morning,
go.
Dave. Good
Well
morning,
done,
Dave.
Kevin. We need to get this guy in the mix. He's good. Crystal ball.
Yeah. See, there's no doubt. There you go.
Yes.
So for those who can't see it, we've got a crystal ball on set, a Mr. Predicto, and we're going to use that to help us predict interest rates, because I think that's pretty much the
That's
only...
as accurate as anybody else right
Exactly.
Jay
what-
Powell is using him as a predictor. Right now, Jay Powell, we know you are. Scott Morris, everyone that's
He's
watching.
watching. Oh, she's watching, I should say, right?
Jay Powell's a man.
Man,
Jay-
oh,
Jay
well,
Powell's
you know,
a
we-
man.
it
Jay is a Jerome.
Yes,
Jay's a Jerome.
He's a Jerome.
Yeah, go Smith, huh? Hey, Scott, why don't you just take over? I'm gonna.
Scott Morris, Jason Jerome.
How long have we known each other?
I don't know, how does this thing work? 30 years?
It's been 30 years. Wow.
Scott, introduce yourself to everybody that's watching.
My name is Scott Morris. I'm with Ross Mortgage. I love being here, seeing everybody, always over-caffeinated, and just excited to kind of sit down and have this week's chat.
Seriously, we known each other for 30 years?
Yeah, we've seriously known each other for 30 years.
God.
How do you feel about that? I should ask Scott that question.
I think that would be the better question to ask.
So right now I'm really self-conscious because 3 great hairs, and I'm like, man, should I put some plugs in or something?
You got great hair, Kevin. You got a good beard too.
God, thank you.
You know, redheads are, right, that's a natural redhead, right? You haven't
100%.
dyed that?
Not 100% redhead.
No,
Nothing,
redhead.
no box of anything.
Why don't we do this? I didn't know this, and we'll highlight Carrie. You might have to help me with Carrie's last name. Carrie Christian Vedermarecki is watching the program, and she's giving you some props right now. This man spent 10 years of his life traveling.
And that's where we want to start. Let's talk
Yeah.
about that. So I know this is the first time we've actually formally met each
Yes.
other. So tell us a little bit about your life. You travel a lot, and it seems like there's pretty awesome stuff. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, so what happened was after I graduated college, I went to a couple different seminaries where I got 2 master's degrees. And during that time, from about 20 to 29, I traveled the world, built schools, health clinics, feeding centers, and orphanages all over the world. I built a school in Honduras, a orphanage in Tanzania, a medical center in Honduras, and then just traveled, taught, worked in food kitchens, whatever it is around the world.
What years?
From 20 to, do my math with my age, so go back 23 years, so roughly late 90s into the mid 90s.
Cool.
Late 90s into mid 2000s, so.
Did you do any probably seems like it was like a lot of third world countries.
Yes.
You didn't make it into Europe or anything like
No,
anything like that.
And our honeymoon we did, because the wife did not really want to travel too far into Tanzania, other places like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, all the
But
fun
that-
places that you wanted to go to. That makes you a very smart man. Is what that does. So you travel for 10 years around the world. You
Yep.
help people, which is awesome.
Yep.
So how did you transition from that into real estate, and then
Into leadership.
like in 2 years
Yep.
into your position? So tell us that journey. That's not a typical journey.
no,
So let's talk
not
about
at all.
that.
I like helping people. That's my main thing. I like to help people, as you said, from my, helping people around the world. And then I got into real estate. I was brand new, didn't know anything. People like David Cook, Stu Plaskon, Ginger Slavic, people like that were helping me in real estate and helping me learn. So then I just felt I should repay it to other people and just say, hey, these seasoned agents who are amazing at what they do have taught me. So I'm going to start teaching the new agents that come in. I just started teaching the new agents. They were successful. Then I started teaching other people, answering questions. Next thing you know, I'm the sales manager. And then 2-3 months ago, I became the branch manager.
So
That's big time.
hopefully Rachel is watching. Rachel Foster. She
I'll
is.
tag Rachel.
Yes.
She
I'll
is.
tag her right now.
She is a rock star of a
Yes.
human being, a rock star of a broker.
Yes.
I've had the pleasure to sit in multiple meetings with her, a part of CAR, and I was sad to hear her leave the community, but I understood why, and this
Yeah.
is a good thing. And sounds like you're filling her pumps or high heels or whatever you choose to wear. Not that I'm judging you at all, but whatever
Yeah,
you
so
choose.
it was sad to see, she is my best friend. I wanted to throw that out there, because she always likes to give me a hard time. But, certain things called her away, and she felt like I was the right person to step in and, put those pumps on.
Good for you. Good for you. Scott, jump in the mix here, buddy.
I don't know Rachel, but the traveling thing I think is super interesting, especially the building of the schools and just operate. I mean, I've been in some third world environments and
Little different, though.
and in a completely different aspect, and have nothing but real respect and curiosity about what living in those situations is really like.
Good question.
Yeah, but wow, that's a great question.
Well done, Scott.
Yeah, no.
Thank you.
So I think one of the coolest things was when I lived in the Himalayan mountains. I lived with the exiled Tibetan government. I actually got to meet the Dalai Lama. But
Wow.
in the house I lived in, there were actually monks right next door. So each evening, I'd see them, and they would go in. They would start praying. And you hear them chanting, meditating, those things. That was really cool. In Ethiopia, I lived in a lot of houses made out of cow poop.
I can see that. Yeah. That's some good construction, good insulation.
Did you say cow poo?
Cow poop. Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Cow poop.
How does that work?
I don't know.
Okay.
It kept me warm.
Yeah, they're bricks, man.
Yeah.
They use the
know
poo,
that.
they use straw, and
Yeah.
they use mud, and
Yep.
they mix it all together, and it binds it together. But this is a family show, so we're going to stay off of poop and all that kind of great
I
stuff.
don't know. I got little poop. I got little kids. Poop is a pretty
My kid's 3.5.
Happening
It's
topic.
in my house all the time. It's like what we talk about every day. My kid's 3.5.
And then at my age, it becomes a thing again. Becomes a thing again. So what is old becomes new again.
Right.
What do they say? Once a man, twice a child. That's what they say over there.
No, my wife's been saying that for decades, literally decades.
Daniel Pettit, welcome to the program.
Hey,
Real
Daniel.
Estate 3, welcome to the show. A lot of your colleagues at Long & Foster watching the program. A couple mortgage officers watching the program. Scott Morse is getting some props from Diana Lynn Banks right now. Live on every social media platform possible. Keith Smith, where do you want to start?
So we're going to start off first. Please throw some questions, throw some comments into the feed. I can see Jerry's fingers firing at a light warp speed. That means stuff's coming in there. But let's start, Kevin, so how was your 2021, right? I know from a leadership perspective, you moved it, but from a sales and helping folks on, what did you see in 2021? And we're going to do a little crystal ball for 2022.
Okay. Yeah, 2021, obviously we saw not many houses on the market. For example, in 2019 of October, there were 1,300 houses in Charlottesville on the market. In October of 2020, there were 600 houses on the market. And in October of 2021, we only see about 300 houses on the market. So the market, instead of a healthy market share of about 4 to 6 months of houses out there, we're right down to 1 month of houses. And so it's just very difficult for buyers right now. If you have a good house that's a good price, good location, good condition, it's going to sell within days. Unfortunately, there's going to be 10, 20, 30 buyers out there trying to buy that house. And I think that's been the most difficult thing for realtors this year is the fact that, you're just competing, and losing a lot of times. And it's very difficult sometimes for the buyers.
So I'm about to go to the buyers. I mean, realtors, this is our business, this is what we're in. I think the stress is a little bit more on the buyer side, and you see that almost on a daily basis.
I see
right?
that. It comes in ebbs and flows. So we get a wave of inventory that comes on, and things get easier in the multiple offer situation. And then as the choice properties come off and the more distressed properties stay on, or maybe things that weren't priced as they should have been, we've seen more walkbacks in pricing, I think, in the last 90 days than we have all year long. And when you see that happening, that's when you're getting more concessions. It's getting more kind for those same group of buyers that went out in that first wave of inventory that came on, and they were just, it's disheartening for them. But we're seeing more waves of inventory coming on, and from meetings that I've had in the last few weeks, a lot of other agents I've talked to have seen a lot more energy going into 2021 for like the January, February as far as future listings.
I mean 2022.
2022.
Got it.
Sorry.
Well, thank you.
I'll do that all the way into 2022.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
And I'll do it all the way through 2022. I'm dyslexic. I get all confused with all these particular numbers. But that's what I wanted to ask you. Normally, for those of us who have been in the market for quite some time, normally you see a slowdown in December, right, in the holidays. Are you, as far as mortgage applications, are you seeing a kind of an uptick, or are you seeing it slowing down a little bit? What are you seeing?
I have not seen it slow down.
Yeah.
Yeah, not at all.
So we're saying there is no winter market. There is only one market, right? There's hyperspeed, and then there's warp speed. Hold on, I'm trying to see if I can get my Star Trek references right. There's warp speed, and then there's whatever, the regular speed.
I'm not sci-fi. I'm more like I'm more Lord of the Rings.
Okay, well then go to the Lord of the Rings.
So I don't know what that is. Is that like eagle speed? I don't know.
I got a Gandalf.
He does have a
I got a Gandalf.
You said the hair was too nice with the Gandalf hat.
That's
And
like
plus,
neither Keith nor I I got a jester hat
if,
over here.
if
but
I
mess up the hair.
had that hat and the beard, I'd look like a garden gnome. So, just saying.
So you actually think you need the hat and the beard for that?
Yeah.
Oh, Danny Saunders, great job, Kevin, watching the program from Long and Foster. It's not Carrie, it's Carl Christian V.
Van McKirk, yep.
Yeah, looking good, Kevin.
Awesome.
Carl.
Wonderful.
You got a number of brokerages watching the show here. So, gentlemen, do we want to talk about the inflation number that came out?
Yeah, I was going. Thank you, sir.
I think we should.
The man right here to my right should be able to kick that one off.
So I think it got here later than everybody expected.
Set the
Yeah, you gotta
stage
say.
for what happened today with this number in very simplistic terms, and then we'll take a deep dive. Because this is a good piece of data that came out today.
So this is the third consecutive of these inflation numbers that the Fed has been expecting, and this actually came in at or below expectations. So this kind of drilled into where they did not see it going this high this fast into, well, this is about kind of where we are, pricing everything in at the moment. So you're not the markets are going to react positively to this. That may not be a good thing for rates when I say positive, because depending on what it does to the U.S. 10-year. Now, what's interesting is the last time that we had this kind of inflation was 1982.
Yep.
The U.S. 10-year was at 15% at that point, and right now we are trying to break the 1.5 as a ceiling, as like a normal level. So just think about that. So the last time we had inflation of 6.8%, we had mortgage rates of 18% and a U.S. 10-year at 15%.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
No.
Well, yeah.
Let's emphasize why that's important or the
Yeah.
impact that this could have.
Well, so I don't think it's long term. I am in the camp of some of it's going to be sticky, but there was enough money pumped in, and there's enough of a supply problem that it's
Yeah, agreed.
going to be here for a little bit.
So you're saying it's transitory.
I'm saying it is transitory, but transitory is not like the kind it's going to be here for a couple months. I think this goes into 2023, but
I agree.
we do find some normalcy at the end of this. What's important is this potentially could drive rates up, but I don't see that happening as
So-
fast as it was expected to happen.
So just to make sure I understood this, the transitory comment was on the inflation side or on the Fed rate side? Or
So
both?
the Fed hasn't made a move yet. The Fed is going to have to act in some fashion, whether in its monetary policy. The first thing that they're going to do is they're going to increase or they're going to decrease their amount of bond
That's
purchases
exactly
more
right.
quickly than they originally expected. When they start to do that, that's going to put more investors on the hook for mortgage-backed securities, so you're going to see mortgage rates go up in accordance with that. Now, at the same time, with that said, you've got the other piece being the Fed does not want that to happen at a skyrocketing rate, so they are going to want to manage what they do. They don't care how much it affects the overall market, I don't think, this time, as much as they do the disruption of the home, like the
So
the
why
home
was
purchase
it? Why
economy.
was the discrepancy? I know they were predicting. It really didn't happen. So somebody who's a novice at your world, explain how we got there. How did we get there?
I don't know. That's probably a bigger question
Yeah,
for like
that's a deep question.
Okay.
Larry.
Well, ask Mr.
yeah.
Predicto. He might tell us.
Well, Mr. Predicto is probably as accurate as anybody else, being
Yeah.
that they said the 10-year was going to be at 2% by the end of the year, and here we are at December 9th, and we're not there.
But isn't it typical about a two-point spread between that and mortgage rates? If you look at it historically, it kind of follows that rate.
Yes.
So if we go to 2, that means we're. Yeah, I mean, it's just a guide.
Rule of thumb,
A
yeah,
rule
yeah.
of thumb. So if we're at 2, at the 10, you're usually looking at 4 out of 30, right?
Correct.
Let's do this. Why don't we get Kevin in the mix here and ask you, Kevin, how increased rates are going to impact this market?
Honestly, with there being so many buyers out there, the rates, I think, will take some people out of the game who won't be able to afford houses like they were before. But honestly, there are just so many people that are looking to purchase homes right now that I don't think the rates are really going to be that much of an impact in the houses in 2022, in my opinion.
I agree with that. Scott, your thoughts?
100%. I mean, we were selling houses, when we were at 4.5% 3 years ago. Now we have the same amount of people. Actually, we've got more people coming of age and coming into opportunity to be able to make these life-changing decisions and are unable to because of an inventory shortage and because of the competition.
So credit requirements 4 years ago, 5 years ago, were they more stringent than they are today? Or so as far as credit,
I don't think a lot has changed
That's
in
what I
that
was trying to get
regards.
to.
But what I do see happening potentially is the 40-year mortgage.
Oh.
That's that's a possibility.
How do you feel? What do you think about that loan vehicle, a 40-year mortgage?
don't know.
Honestly,
Better than a 8-year car note, and they're
Yeah.
doing that.
that's true. Better than a 5-year ARM. So, is the ARM as popular anymore?
It depends. Like, why would you get one right now knowing that rates are going to go up? If you know that it's going to only adjust up, that's got to be a terrible proposition. But when maybe 2 or 3 years from now, then it becomes an opportunistic vehicle again.
well, according to Realtor.com, the predictor that they're having is they're predicting that mortgage rates will range somewhere between 3.3 and 3.6% on that, and that's a combination between the Mortgage Association, NAR, and all these different.
Cheap money.
Yeah, it's still cheap money, but thank you for saying that. I wanted to get this out because 4 or 5 years ago, the requirements to get a loan was pretty much the same as it is now, and it was at 4%. it fluctuated back and forth, and everybody was still selling homes and still buying homes. The price points were a little different, that's for sure, at that end of it. Kevin, how do you see, appreciation in 2022? We in 2021, depending nationwide, we're roughly around 12% across the country, year over year. Are you kind of, crystal balling? Are you seeing? I mean, that's not sustainable.
Sustainable.
Thank you very much.
No, it's not sustainable.
Yeah. So
at
what do you think it might be, your crystal ball?
My crystal ball, let me reach over there. And
Yeah, go ahead.
That thing. It's just appreciation's going to keep going up. If you looked at Charlottesville in 2019, average house was sold for $310.
Yeah.
We peaked in June, July of this year around $399 was the average home sale in Charlottesville. It's gone down a little bit, but I see the homes still, being in the high threes, 375, something like that. So appreciation will continue to go up, but not astronomical numbers like before.
So one of the questions that you would get as a buyer's agent, right? Is it too late to get into the market, right? Am I buying at too high?
Yeah.
And because I think there's still this remembrance of the
2009.
time of great unpleasantness.
Yes.
Was it Sleepless in Seattle where Tom Hanks talks about how you missed the boat on Apple stock?
I thought it was Forrest Gump.
Or was it You've Got Mail?
You've got
You Got Mail, that's
You've
it.
Got
Got
Mail.
Mail.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because he was sleeping on the boat
Yeah,
at
yeah,
the
yeah.
time, and he was corresponding with Meg Ryan, right?
Yes.
Was it Meg
Yeah,
Ryan?
Meg Ryan.
Yes. It was super cute and adorable. You've Got Mail is a good holiday movie. Questions coming in from Mr. Morris.
What do you got?
So this is from Real Estate 3's Daniel Pettit. Okay. How does credit score affect purchasing power now? And what is an average score, Scott? And then a question for Kevin, also from Daniel. How many frustrated buyers give up for a while attempting to purchase and rent for a while? Also, when you think interest rates will go up. So interest rates going up and credit score affecting purchasing power. And then how many frustrated buyers are giving up and just renting that you come across? Scott, why don't you go first?
So as far as rates going up, I think as the Fed, they're going to announce it next week. I think their policy meeting, when they're, what their intention is, what they really meant when they said we're going to decrease our bond buying program more rapidly than we initially discussed. If that means they go from an original prediction of MBS purchases of decreasing by $5 billion a month to $10 billion a month, I mean, that means month over month, you're going to see a gradual step up. How quickly that happens, I mean, I don't think I can predict that. I think we just kind of need to buckle in and see what happens. And then the second, as far as average credit, that I don't think that's changed at all. In fact, I will say I think it's actually gotten better. I think average credit has gone up.
Yeah.
And a part of that's probably due to the stimulus, people not spending as
the
much.
quarantining.
And the quarantining.
Yeah. Yep.
And so they had additional money to catch up on some bills. And I think average credit has gone up. And then there's also been some rumor that FICO may rescore how they view certain things, specifically medical debt, which is already kind of accounted for on our end, but it would be to the benefit of borrowers, as far as having a higher credit score, and that some of these things that are negatively impacting them now, giving them an easier path towards qualification.
Does student loan debt fall in that?
That's a good point. I mean, student loan debt, they've already made some adjustments for. So in the, where we had to count 1%, FHA has moved to just a 0.5%. So that means if you're out there with $100,000 in student loans, that's a $500 payment that we have got to look at again instead of $1,000.
Well, most people don't know that student debt is part of your debt to income ratio, right?
Yes.
And it's a big thing, and that was on my to-do list to talk to you today about. So everybody knows we've known each other for 30 years, and Yvonne Smith, or Weidel now, if you can tag her, we had this conversation about, Dad, what am I going to do? My student loan debt is wacky. I want to buy a house. So if somebody like Yvonne, right, that has student loan debt,
right now.
that is married to an awesome guy that is a doctor that has all these medical, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. Now his income potential is a little bit different than a school teacher, which might.
Still, it's a scary number. I mean, I know
Well,
what that looks like.
And that's what I wanted to ask, because it's impeding, we're having conversations with first-time home buyers, and we're hitting the student loan wall. And what are our options? What's out there? What can they do to help that? Does that make sense?
When you say what can they do to help that, I mean,
What can my daughter do? What
Oh.
can Yvonne do? And what can the government do?
I'm
Okay.
not sure what the government can do to help ease the existing student debt.
Hopefully nothing.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
government.
Can the government stay out of it because they created the problem to begin with?
Thank you. Scott Morris, thank you.
Oh, I understand that. So
But strategies, what they can do, consolidating the debt is one strategy.
Yeah, I mean, I think they should also, in some aspect, I don't know. Some of it I think has to be forgivable. I mean, depending on what you're doing, if you've got people like this program where if they are teachers and then they're in 10 years and then they waive that,
Well, they took that all away, because I've read an article about this morning. So now it's only certain services,
Yes.
and it's not teachers anymore. Because when Yvonne got all the student loan debts because she was going to become a teacher, that was the conversation at the kitchen table, and then all of a sudden it went away.
That's they need to stop playing games with the money. If you can't build social programs and put people through a requirement that takes them into six-figure student loan debt and pay them $50,000 a year. It's just the math doesn't work. You can't say, we want you to work for the government to help improve your community, take on 6 figures worth of debt, and then never be able to repay it, because that's the reality. These people are going to put these loans into an income-based repayment plan or a forbearance for the end of time, and they're never going to pay the money back. So what's the purpose in holding this debt over everyone's head?
First time in the history you come out with a BA loan, a BA degree, you make less money than somebody who comes out of a trade school.
100%. I mean, but
First time in
there's,
history.
There's nothing wrong with it. I think the trade school should be, those guys do skilled work and should be paid a fair wage. But the problem is, I'm not saying that teachers aren't paid a fair wage, but they shouldn't have to go through the debt requirement in order to attain that position.
Yeah, I mean, Yvonne needed a master's degree to teach.
That's what I'm saying.
She needed a master's degree to teach. And we were fortunate enough to pay her. But talk back to Jerry's strategy thing, because I gave Yvonne some advice.
My answer is, I don't know, dude. I would like.
It would be consolidate the debt.
Yeah.
See if you can a bank offer a consolidated student loan debt vehicle? Because they can do it for credit
So
cards.
here's the
And then we got to get Kevin in the mix here.
they already
I'm still here.
They already do on some level, but the problem there is if you run the risk of the politicians who dangle this student loan forgiveness, if you consolidate your debt into a bank-sized loan, then it's no longer held by the government, and then you can't get forgiven because you took it out.
But the dangling, and Scott's getting us thinking here, the dangling of the student loan debt forgiveness is just a ploy to get votes.
Sure.
Do we not think, don't you think that?
I mean, it's all. I'm not
So-
gonna. I'm not gonna deep dive into that.
Is what he's saying.
So here was the advice I gave to Yvonne. We looked at the 3 loans she has. There was 2 federally backed loans, and there was 1 private. The private was at 6%. And we said, look, you've had this time out. You can't make these payments when this all started back in 2020 when the federal government, and she paid off. She paid off that loan that had the 6%, and we have a couple of smaller ones that have like 1%, 2%.
Leave them, just leave them in whatever they're doing. Basically, so if you've got something that you can leave into forbearance on a mortgage side, we're going to only count 1% against you. And if you become financially capable of working on that at that point, then address it. But if you can keep it at a non-accruing debt level or a low accruing debt level, protect it as long as you can in that vehicle. Don't take it out with a grandiose plan to get it knocked down and then run the risk of defaulting or the government not forgiving it in the future, which they may or may not ever do anyway.
So she had $50,000 worth of student debt. We've helped her, and she paid off all the 6% stuff. I can't remember the number. Let's assume it's $25,000 left over. So I just want to make sure only 1% of that is.
That's correct.
So that's
and 0.5%. At this point, you've got two different paths. You can go an FHA product, you can count as 0.5%, and then you've got a conventional product that you can count as 0.5%.
So thanks to Kevin, there's a ton of real estate agents watching. So this is an important piece of information to get out there, because when we have conversations with Yvonne, well, I don't want to even make a loan application. I owe whatever it is. So I just want to be clear. So you're only going to count 0.25% of that $25,000. Is that correct?
0.5.
0.5, excuse me.
But on top of that, to that point, try to always coach or guide your clients to don't be afraid of no because of something that you've created to be a bigger elephant in the room than it may actually be.
So
let someone else give you guidance on that and tell you where the path is.
Don't be afraid to know, and that's where I want to bring Kevin into the conversation, because with buyers right now, they just given up. They've given up. So how do you coach a buyer that says, I really want to buy, but I've given up? What does that conversation look like to you, Kevin?
Yeah, so one of the things that Rachel Foster taught me was setting expectations. Is to sit down and have a conversation with your buyer clients right out of the gates. Set the expectations of what the mortgage process is going to be, set the expectations of the home search process is going to be, and just really let them know the hurdles and obstacles that are going to be there in front of them as they're looking for a home. And then once you go out into looking for a home, then the next stage is, making offers, things like that. If you set the expectations with your clients, they'll still be disappointed, but they won't be upset or running away from this whole home buying process.
Good answer. And I would counter or respond to what you said. If the multiple offer situation that we're in right now, individuals with hundreds of thousands of dollars of student loan debt are going to have a hard time winning that multiple offer situation when some people are going with more than 20% to the closing table, or making up the difference of appraised values with cash. Mm-hmm. So I would say the student loan debt is not so much about the student loan debt as it is cash on hand,
Correct.
Preventing from closing deals.
Which brings up a great question. Typical first-time home buyer, you're not seeing 20% down, right? Because that's a common misconception.
What I find more often than not, and I've got a great product for it, is being able to get to 100% down so that they can go in and only pay their closing cost and not have to ask for a concession from the seller, because that's the biggest hurdle. Is they may be able to compete, but then they're asking for concessions. So they could compete on income alone, but they don't have the savings to cover both the down payment and the ability to pay their closing costs.
So Kevin, I was trying to get to in our conversation earlier that I have a 20-year spreadsheet that I've done here, and it includes the time of great unpleasantness. And we run anywhere
Real estate depression, which I'm sure Kevin has figured out over here.
There's an inside story here, which really isn't so inside, but it's averaging somewhere between, depending on where you're at, like Lake Monticello, Crozet, whatever it is, somewhere between 3 to 6% year over year. Let's just call it average 3 to 4%, somewhere in that. So this 12% is a little off the charts, but most folks will say, if you're going to buy something today, even at 100% loan, you're probably going to get this 3 if you stay in it long enough. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, a lot of people who are looking to buy houses now, they see a price, let's say it's $400,000, a 900 square foot home in downtown Charlottesville. And if I'm going to leave my house in 5 years and sell it, am I going to make my money back, Kevin? Obviously, I can't predict the future. Well, if we do have the ball over there.
Mr. Perfecto.
Yeah, Mr. Perfecto might be able to do that for us.
We should ask it.
Yeah, we should ask it. I can't make that prediction. More than likely, you probably, once you have all the fees come out with selling your house in 5 years, you'd be lucky to break even, depending on where you're at, in my opinion. And if the market keeps going up the way it is now and does not slow down, you could make some money on your house. So it's just kind of hard.
But you could do some math for somebody. You can say, okay, if we're doing, let's be conservative and say it's 2.5% or 2% year over year, and you're paying into your principal, and because you're going to use Scott at the closing table is going to advise you to make
mortgage. Well, what?
whoa! It's going to suggest that you make a couple extra payments a year to principal. In 5 years, it is the best way to get generational wealth, right, through that process. Yeah. Do you coach folks that way?
Yeah, so I had a client who bought a house in Belmont about 4 months ago for $700,000.
Okay.
You know, it was a very nice home, and they plan on building their wealth and buying a nicer house in 5 years. And of course, we sat down and said, hey, Kevin, if we buy this house now,
That's not a first-time home buyer.
They came from Michigan.
Okay, with a bag of cash?
Mostly cash.
Okay.
Yeah, good chunk of money.
Okay.
So we just sat down, we worked the numbers and say, hey, you know, when we sell this house in 5 years, you know, what do we think we can get out of the home in order for them to buy that $1 million house? You know, so we worked through that process.
So we say this on the show all the time. This is why you want to hire a trusted advisor, not this iPhone.
Yeah.
Right? You know, you need to sit down and dig into the data. The iPhone isn't going to do that for you. You bring in your trusted advisor.
Do I get to bash better.com at this point?
Yeah. I can't
well,
wait. I had a feeling that was going to come. So we got questions. I want to hear the bashing of better.com, but some questions for Kevin and Scott here. So this is a two-part question. This is from Grayson, who's watching in Crozet. For your guest, how many of potential sellers are choosing to refinance their home and stay in the home longer? And then the question for Scott is, the refinancing process, how much of equity is counted in this process? So Kevin, why don't you go with that first? How many potential sellers are just choosing to refinance and stay in the home longer that you've experienced from Grayson? And then Scott, we'll get you in the mix.
Honestly, with the rates where they are right now, a lot. A lot of people have decided I mean, that's their forever home. They got the interest rate at 5% X amount of years ago. Hey, let's refinance and get it down. You know, I've seen that quite a bit of clients that have said, I'm not going to sell. Some people, of course, when they downsize, they'll downsize and go to a different home. But yeah, it's amazing the number of people who've just decided to say, hey, I can get an interest rate at 2%. You know, for my 5%, save money, knock down the monthly payments, and do that. So I've seen it quite a bit. How about you, Scott?
100%. Yeah. The 2% are going away, and they're not gone, but they're depending on terms, they're phasing out. But the question of the amount of equity, so it depends on what you're doing. You know, if you're 95%, you can still go in and refinance, or if it's a VA loan, you could do an interest rate reduction product and still be 95, 96, 97%. If you're looking to take some cash out, you need to be below 80, or 80 or below.
That's 80%.
80%, that's correct. So that's kind of a snapshot of what that looks like.
Keith, thoughts?
I'm learning as usual when I sit here, and you mentioned VA, and we need to relook at refinancing our house and see if it's time to do that, because I'm in a time of great unpleasantness, interest rate, which is much higher than what it is at the moment. But I know you check this every day. What is the rate at 30-year right now as this morning?
Depending on the product and credit, you know, still 3.25, low threes, thereabouts.
So he's got a follow-up question, Grayson. When you refinance, are you advising folks to start the clock again or go with a shorter clock? And by clock, I would imagine he means term.
Term.
Yeah, he means term.
What's your goal? Is your goal, I want to see how low I can get my payment and I don't care about resetting it because I'm going to put a tenant in this property in the future and I want to, you know, cash flow is more important than anything else? Or is it I want to pay the bank the least amount of interest and,
So that,
you know,
should that be the goal?
yeah, well, it depends. I mean, if you can put if you can take a higher rate, stretch the payment out, and you can make $2,000 more.
Then throw that against it?
Yeah. I mean, that, you know, or use that $2,000 for, you know, for your, for paying another mortgage or your Ferrari. You know, who knows? Who knows what you want to do? But it's not my decision to make, but I'm going to give you all the options.
What do you think, Kevin?
This guy just keeps dropping the knowledge.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, geez.
Scott Morse is on. Wait.
That guy's brought an A game today.
He had me at Ferrari, but
You only said not so fast.
yeah.
I was thinking of a boat, but you know, whatever.
I've got one of them, so I need to.
How about this question for Scott and Kevin? How many sellers are refinancing and remodeling their homes and possibly adding a master to the first floor versus their master being in the second floor now, primary suite? So how many sellers are refinancing and remodeling their homes and expanding for a way to make it the forever home for them? Kevin, you want to go with that?
I mean, I've seen remodels have gone through the roof. I mean, you look at pretty much any neighborhood, there's at least one house that's remodeling in some way, shape, or form. I know my wife has remodeled the kitchen twice in 4 years.
Is she watching?
I'm sure she is.
So yeah, no, remodeling's gone through the roof, and the main thing is when you do the remodel, especially if you're going to sell the house in the near future, don't dump tens of thousands of dollars into some fancy granite countertop that never can scuff. Because you're never going to get the value back on it. Be really practical on the things that you want to remodel in your home if you are able to do that.
So to play off of that a little bit, and we didn't do anything, so the chemistry's working. Realtor.com 2021 home buyers top 8 reasons for planning to buy a home. Number 1 is either myself or my family needs more space, around 17%. So that's kind of in that scenario where they need some more space. But product-wise, that's a little tricky for you, right? Or you just refi cash out, and then I use the cash, or we're talking about a refi renovation loan?
Isn't that a HELOC?
That I was getting ready to say. So you've got a couple of different options there. If the cash out, if you've got so much equity that we can make it work for the cash out refinance might be best for you, or even if it's something that I don't carry or have the best product for, I'm going to advise you, say, hey, maybe look, I can point you in this direction for a home equity line of credit that might fit what you're doing better. You stay in the product 3 years, there's typically no closing costs attached, they waive them at that point. That could be a better option. It may not always be your best option, but we're going to, as a trusted advisor, we're going to have that conversation so you kind of know what all your options are.
When is the best scenario for the HELOC?
Depends on how much, generally
equity.
Lower amounts of money. Let's say.
You need like $50K or $100K for a kitchen remodel.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you have to have a substantial amount of equity in.
You could have, you could do,
It gotta
depending on, let's say you had 10% and you wanted, the house is $500,000, and, depending on credit and who you're going through, you can get to 100.
So talk about that for a second.
But I'd have to say one thing real quick. Now with Scott saying all this, I'm going to be remodeling my kitchen for the 3rd time. Thank you.
I like your humor. Will the lender allow the homeowner to go upside down with the HELOC?
There may be some institutions that let you go to 105, depending on
So
credit.
5% in the hole?
Yes, there may be some people out there that do that.
But the appraised value,
They're going to get an appraisal. Yeah.
but I'm just saying, they're not going to let them go 5% over the appraised value.
That's what he's saying.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. That's terrifying.
Yeah.
Oh,
Is
man.
that not terrifying?
I wouldn't do it, but I'm saying there may be some people who have.
We're not going to tell folks what to do, but man, that's kind of what got us into trouble.
Yeah. It's a slippery slope is what you're saying.
Yeah. I just had chills up my back on that end of it. But that's important to talk about on the refi end of it, right? A normal
But that's not, that's also not a super common thing.
Right.
Well,
Right.
but it was.
Right. Well,
It used to be, right? And it's just the fact that is even, those words even came out of your mouth, and the no-knock loans are starting to make a little
I
bit
have
of.
seen some weird non-QM stuff, and QM being qualified mortgage.
Yeah. So I think we need to talk about that, right?
And let's get Kevin's take on that. Philip Wilkerson III, we'll get to your take here in a matter of moments. Questions for both these guys. No doc loans. You got a take on that?
No, I do not.
The no doc loans are people getting, and Scott, help me out here, people getting some approval with limited documentation.
You are going to be a super successful principal broker or managing broker. No, I do not.
You're saying it's a slippery slope and you don't want to offer a take? Is that why?
I'm not going to jump on that one.
There you go.
Scott's
You're
up.
going to do well.
That's a smart man over there. What do you think, Scott?
I don't have anything for that as far as, nor would I want to,
But the
get into that.
intent, the original intent of them wasn't a bad thing, right?
No, the original intent was
is-
to build social equity, where it's and I'm choosing the right words here, Scott, and I'm going to get out of your way here. The original intent was to create a path to home ownership for disenfranchised demographics that otherwise were not getting a path to home ownership.
Agreed. And there is still a demographic that I specifically would like to have a better resource for, and that's people with ITNs like No Social that have established community history that, do all the right things, but, they get hammered when it comes to these things because they're typically paying a higher rate. They're going to be more cash down, that type of thing. So they exist, but it's not. How about this? The no-doc loans or the reduced document loans are they're less available to people who are qualified for other things versus before it was kind of open game to everybody.
Huh. Thoughts on that, Smith?
Well, I mean, the original intent was to help folks like some of these folks at the table here that, they're small business owners and, they've got the cash flow, but they're 2-year tax returns because you need 2 years tax returns from my business. And that was the original intent of it, my understanding of it on that end of it, on that. So it was a good thing because we had the cash flow. We can verify the cash flow, but my tax returns didn't look so good because of our, the business environment. I do want to twist this around a little bit and talk about, we're talking about helping buyers, but we've got this inventory problem that we need to figure out, right? And we've been talking about this historically, but I think, I'm looking at the numbers here from that Realtor.com is predicting, and it's an average. They're predicting rents to go up 7.1% next year.
And I can jump in on that one. So my daughter, she lives in Florida, not around here, but she lives in Florida, and her rent is going to go up $900.
What percentage is that?
A lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, she lives in West Palm Beach, so it's
Tony area.
yeah. So it's probably, I'd say 25 to 30%.
Yeah.
And she can't afford it.
Did she know that?
No. Mm-mm.
So the 1-year lease was ending.
Yep. And
there's a 90-day.
Everybody in the building, $900 going up.
Good Lord.
So then what has happened, which, I do not, my daughter's friend who was a boy,
Okay.
we're not going to go the other way around,
Okay.
they're looking for a house now. Because, and I think that's going to hurt us with the limited supply out there.
That's the reason I brought it up.
All these millennials and everybody else that say, hey, I can't afford an additional $100, $900 for rent. Why am I going to pay $3,000 right now for a place I'm renting because I'm just flushing the money down the toilet?
When the mortgage could be less.
Yes, much less.
Realtor.com, number 6 in the top reasons in 2021, I can no longer rent and buying would be cheaper.
Well,
roughly.
would your daughter and the friend that's a boy
Yes.
buy the house together?
I believe, I'm not sure. I think he's buying the house.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
so-
then he's going to offset some of the mortgage payment by running to your daughter.
Yes.
That's a good path.
Oh, yeah. No, it's smart. And also, too, instead of her paying $3,000 a month for a nice apartment, but, honestly, you're flushing that money every single month down the toilet. And if you can find a house and get with Scott or whatever lender that you choose and, get a mortgage for $1,500, now you have a house, you're building equity, you're going to remodel it and sell it in the future, and all of a sudden you're building your wealth. The rental market right now is ridiculous with the way that prices are just skyrocketing.
So that's the reason I brought it up. It's only going to put more pressure on that end of it. And there's an article that the National...
landlords.
It's good for landlords, right? But there's 82% of the unmarried Americans, this is according to Realtor.com, National Association of Realtors, would rather buy than get married. So that's a similar situation, right? And it was with my daughter and her now husband. But they couldn't afford it.
Rather buy than have a wedding.
Yeah.
They're still getting married.
They're
They're not spending the tens of thousands of dollars on a wedding.
Thank you very much. That's exactly what they're doing.
Shouldn't
So,
that be like a thing?
It sounds like common sense.
Yeah.
Does it not?
Like $20,000 for a wedding or $20,000 down on the house.
And the $20,000 for a wedding, I think, is light.
Yeah,
I think around here it's like 50 to 60K for a wedding.
yeah.
How would it work, Philip? I promise I'm going to get to this comment. How would it work in a loan situation if his daughter and the friend that's a boy try to buy the house together?
That's fine. They'd just be
Done all the
borrower,
time.
co-borrower.
Yeah? You just be co-borrower? Mm-hmm. Okay.
I will tell you, we do that probably more often than not.
Do you look at the co-borrowers that aren't married differently than the ones that are married?
No.
Really?
It could be borrower, co-borrower, and and both of their parents. You can pool everybody together.
Is Yvonne watching? That's not.
Let me ask here. Let me
That
check.
is not happening, Yvonne.
Yeah, you're saying you
not
have to
happening.
be out there.
It's not happening.
It's not happening.
You chose wedding. I'm just saying. Just saying. You
Philip
chose
Wilkerson
wedding.
III. What if he says this is a fantastic conversation. What is the plan to live in your current home for at least 20 years, would you renovate the kitchen? Context, the kitchen was last renovated in the 90s and has 90s style. So he's basically saying, if you're going to live in the home for 20 years, should you renovate your kitchen?
And I'm literally doing that right now. We've been in our house for 21 years, put a new roof on it because it's past its life.
You're turning this into the forever home.
There's no such a thing as a forever home.
You have to say that because of your wife.
No, it's true. I've got one of these piles of paper. We've got some stats on it. You know, if I had $1,000 every time somebody that I built 600 homes in my career. I'm a recovering developer and builder, Kevin. And if I had $1,000 every time I built one of them, which he helped frame and he was on and he operated track hose and all that stuff.
One of the worst employees you could ever hire at the time.
I don't believe that.
Well, he's here because I'm trying to get some of it back. But no, actually, you did great. We had a lot of fun together. But if I had $1,000 for everybody said this was my forever home, and we are now getting phone calls to sell it,
Yeah.
you know, the great time of unpleasantness for me wouldn't have been so unpleasant. So you know, it's forever homes is people think that, but it's not real. There's only one forever home.
Yes.
Question for Kevin. What area or neighborhood or aspect of Central Virginia do you think is going to be hot in 2022?
Oh, great question.
I mean, obviously, Charlottesville's hot, never changes. I mean, it's always, blowing up. Out in Crozet, Old Trail area is really hot. I'm actually seeing the Lake Monticello, pick up a lot of steam over the last year. So there are different areas that are unfortunately, there's not much inventory, but when it comes out, I mean, it's going to sell quickly. And just to go back to the person who asked about the kitchen, we're in a seller's market. I wouldn't touch it if you plan on selling it within the next
Agreed.
year. Why spend $20,000? So now somebody walks in your house, they're like, hey, I'm going to buy this house. I will fix it. I will put the money into improving this kitchen because, there's nothing out there. And people are just saying, I'll take this outdated kitchen. I'll fix it myself. Let me buy your house.
So I'm having this conversation with mom and dad, my mother and father. We're having a conversation. 24% of last year's sales were multi-generational. Hey, mom and dad, our master bedroom's on the first floor. Our home is set up to accept that. And they would go, well, no. My mother literally said, no, I can't put it on the market unless I renovate the kitchen and I do all this stuff. And I was going, Mom, no, let's sell the home.
Yeah.
This is the perfect time to cash out. I only will charge you this amount a month per rent. It's not a big deal.
You
can handle it.
Laundry.
You can handle
Watch my tiny whities.
and dinner, by the way, on the
Throw that
table.
in.
Hey, that's a good deal. That lady can cook.
Yeah, that was a
Tina,
good.
if you're
Make it
listening,
happen, Pop.
there's some baked ziti for me somewhere in the future.
And he knows my parents almost as much as he's like a brother, literally a brother of mine. You can only imagine what Tina said when I said that to her.
Was Tina Mrs. Smith's first name?
Christina.
Okay, very nice. Because Pop just goes by Pop.
Pop goes by Pop. Everybody calls him Pop. Literally. At a board meeting I was at last night. Public board meeting. Yeah, hey, Pop. I mean, but, my mother.
Oh,
I touched it.
We got a prediction. But just to jump back in on hotspots, one thing I remembered is I've had a lot of agents who have their clients who are looking for 20 to 30-minute commute outside of Charlottesville.
Yeah.
A lot.
A little bit more than that. There is a 700-unit project that is breaking ground in Culpeper right now, combination townhouse.
So how far is that from here?
45.
What's the single-family detached, starting with the 2 in front of it?
4.
Okay, and how about the townhome?
Don't know, didn't read that much into the article.
So
It would have to be a
4,
3.
Yeah.
3 and
Low
6.
4s get you the entry package?
Correct. And then there's another.
Is it Ryan? Who's the developer?
No, it's not Ryan. Syntax owned it in 2005, sold the property to whomever. I've got it, I can cheat.
But they're all Northern Virginia folks typically that up in the Culpeper way on that stuff.
Correct. I mean, we'll see it depends. Like on the south side where I am, it's, I'm 30 minutes door to door to like Forest Lakes. So that's.
How long did it take you to get here?
To here, 45.
Kevin, how much is your sales footprint expanding because of COVID and increased purchasing, increased housing costs?
Yeah.
Are you driving further than ever before?
Yes, I know myself and a bunch of other agents, Waynesboro. I mean, lots of us going over the mountain to Waynesboro from the Charlottesville area to sell homes because, you can buy a beautiful home downtown Waynesboro for $200,000. That exact same house downtown Charlottesville is going to be about $400,000 to $500,000. And people are willing to drive over the mountain to go downtown Charlottesville to work in order to save that money and have a much lower mortgage payment. And so, I've been over the mountain so many times this past year compared to the year before that.
We've been talking about this for a couple of years now.
Yeah, a year.
On
Year
that
plus.
year plus on that end of it, and it's historically, and again, I've been in this market since '87. Historically, when the gas starts getting to the point that it is now, you start seeing that slow down, and that is not happening now. I think
Well, it's because of the hybrid piece too, and the fact that technology is so much more advanced and robust, and people can work from their house.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
so many more people who, if you live in an area where you've got
Fiber?
high-speed internet.
Oh, yeah. That's the biggest question now that I get whenever there's a buyer. What's internet? I mean, that's like the number one question that a buyer has.
they don't care about water and sewer.
Oh, no, they don't. I mean, this is what is the internet
Yeah.
because I work from home.
So interesting. A little bit of Mr. Predicto. Let's try this. 2021 home buyers' most important features from Realtor.com. This is nationwide. Would you believe that the garage would be the most important feature? Yes or no?
I would say, isn't the most important feature we cover this?
No, this is new data. This just
Okay.
came out this morning. Oh,
I mean,
yesterday,
did
actually.
people understand that it is at the beginning until they fill it up with a bunch of junk
Yeah.
and then
Well, here's a better question. Does anybody
true.
actually
It's
put a
true.
car in a garage? The garage is
they
number
do
one.
it first? They're like, "This is a great idea," and they're like, "Hey, well, I got to move this
Yeah,
big
this
heavy
box
thing in
here,
there."
this
Yeah,
box-
yeah.
The
And
trim
then
that I got for
car
Christmas,
gets
I'm not
like-
going to run on it. Here we go. Put it out in the garage.
Literally, I only can fit one car in my two-car garage. But a garage is number one by 38%.
That's a substantial percentage.
38%. And that shocked me when I looked at this
Maybe
yesterday.
that's where the electric chargers are going inside the house. They got to get the car in the garage to plug the car in.
We've got Segura coming on the show in January. I'm putting solar on my house.
And you're going to do a charging station in the garage.
We're going to
too, aren't
do a charging station
There
in
you
the
go.
garage.
Yeah.
That's
See?
exactly right.
you? Scott Morris, better.com.
Ha.
Get ready, guys.
Here you go. You can use the Predicto.
I don't need the Predicto for this. So this is for agents. There's a two-piece on this. We're gonna start with Better. So Better is an online mortgage company that has a terrible business model, and basically for agents, what this means is you have people go in, submit an and not even submit an application, punch in some information, and it'll spit out a prequal. It's a unverified, it's a no doc prequal letter that they'll hand to you and say, let's go buy a house. And they collect a bunch of these, and it's literally throw it against the wall, and what sticks, and what doesn't matter to them because they don't have a relationship with you and they don't care if things don't work out. Now, their CEO, who is a good showman and a terrible human being, qualified, took $750 million in seed money. Now, they probably took the money or were willing to get the money under the preface that they were going to fire the 900 employees that they did. So they intentionally took the money in order to fire the employees so that they could have a better bottom line going into 2022.
And you fired him via Zoom.
Via a Zoom meeting.
Yeah, not even in person.
Where he said,
You're on this thing.
I really don't like doing this, but if you're on this meeting, you are no longer employed. And after the meeting, all their computers started shutting down. And then said that they were stealing from the company. Now,
Whoa. Say that again?
he said
25%, I think.
he said that they were stealing from the company because some of them were only working a few hours a day. Now, they work on a system where they are fed leads, they're not self-sourced, and they get paid for the number of loans that they lock, not loans that they close. So they have people come in, fed through the refinance boom, and they go in, lock these loans. So most of them, to hit these numbers that they're asked to do, probably only have to work a couple hours a day. But then there's no follow-up from them on getting all the documentation to actually close the loans. And on the loans that they are closing, they're losing money on. So they lost about $500 million over the course of the year. Then they took $750 million from SoftBank, the same company that lost their butt on WeWork last year, or the year before we even had the fallout with COVID
and the pandemic.
And now you've got 900 displaced loan originator people, some of them probably not that qualified.
30 days before Christmas.
30 days before Christmas, in order to make the profit sheet look better for next year so that they can hopefully either take the company public or sell it to someone else. Now, all these 900 people who have just been defamed saying that they were stealing from the company now need to go find jobs. And they're going to have a hard time doing that because as refinances slow down, some of these companies, aren't going to want to take them on.
Are they actually loan officers?
They're licensed people.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, speaking of licensed people, there is a major mortgage company that starts with a Q and a major insurance company that starts with an S and an F that are now partnered together, and the insurance company is licensing all of their insurance people so that if you're an agent and you're...
State Farm is doing that?
State Farm is partnered with Quicken, and not in every market, but they are pushing to every market. So if you are a front-end insurance person, they want you licensed so that when your buyers go out and get a homeowner's insurance quote, the licensed loan officer working for State Farm, who's really an insurance person, takes the lead, kicks it to Quicken. Quicken then takes it over and pays them a VIG on the lead, and here's why that affects you. You've got call center people who are going to be fed the same line that they're seeing online, which is, we'll get you 2.75% into an unlocked loan with no discussion, and this could happen 2 weeks into your transaction. So 2 weeks into your transaction, your buyer goes and gets a homeowner's quote, and they go, well, let us quote your mortgage also. And let's say there's any complication to this borrower-buyer's situation. Let's say there's something that needs a technical person to actually go in and figure this out. You run the risk of them blowing up the whole deal by trying to make this move, trying to change horses midstream over something that an insurance person has absolutely no business being
Because you're
involved
saying the deal would blow up because they're shopping options?
I'm saying
They
that
just don't know what they're doing.
because they don't know what they're doing.
They
So
know
let's
what
say,
they're doing, yeah.
let's say someone doesn't know how to structure it, and they say, hey, we can get you this great deal. Well, they go, okay.
Every loan has a hiccup in it.
Yeah, even nothing's ever easy.
Nothing's ever easy. But that's only refis, or we're doing new purchases
We're
with
doing
this?
it with purchases.
Oh, my God. That's frightening.
It is frightening.
That is frightening. I can't tell you. I just had a flashback pre-2008.
I mean,
Or it was the LSD from the 60s. I can't remember, but it was either one of them.
so those two things, the better thing
Actually, it was the 70s.
and the quickie State Farm thing are two very interesting things that have happened in the course of
So this is why we do what we do on this show 3 times a week, and there's going to be a big announcement on the 21st of December about a potential fourth show, which is going to be exciting. And yours truly in this room might end up being part of that. I'm looking forward to it. But this is why you have to use a trusted advisor. This is why, Kevin, I don't know what you do, but with our buyers, if they start saying we want to do, I've actually turned clients away, to be frank with you. I said, look, if that's the path you want to take, then
My main
maybe
thing
I'm
with-
not the right real estate agent for you.
Yes, exactly. My main thing with my clients and the clients that with Long and Foster that we deal with is, do you want to be a number or a name? All right. So with Scott, your name. I'm Kevin. I'm working with Scott. I'm a name. Scott could call me up and say, hey, this is where we're at. I could be like, hey, Scott, what do we need to do in order to get this thing done? We're talking, we're communicating. Quick and other people like that, you're just a number. And how many hands are going to be on that loan?
once something goes
I
wrong
can
and
tell you
no
this-
one picks up the phone,
Yep.
that's a
Or they
great
pass you off to the next person,
Right.
the next person.
This man I've called at 5:30.
Yeah,
and-
Scott's A+ people, guys, for that are watching.
I've
This guy
called-
goes balls to the wall.
And I've called them at 5:30 in the morning, and I've called them at, 8:30,
Yeah,
9
yeah,
o'clock I'm
yeah,
asleep,
yeah.
so that's that. But
Drinking chamomile tea and about to lay it down.
And also, too,
Did you say chamomile tea? Oh, man.
I like when you talk shit.
but also, too, as we're talking, if I'm a
Chamomile
listing
tea.
agent and
That was good. I liked it.
And their buyers coming in with Quicken, things like that, you're apprehensive. But
Oh,
if
you're
see-
trying to be all serious. I'm
know.
not beyond this chamomile tea thing yet.
Kevin is a
I'm
good
trying- I'm trying to-
addition
Yeah,
the
see,
show.
I'm trying to reel it back in.
I think
Kevin's a very likable dude.
I
like
think Kevin needs a repeating spot here.
I agree. This is a question for Kevin. Has
Chamomile
anyone done a
tea.
yearly overhead cost for their own real estate business over the last 5 years? Depreciation on car, gas, cost,
Ooh.
time to go from Charlottesville to Waynesboro and beyond. Are you making less or more money now?
Great day, there's a question and a half right there.
Right there.
And who did that come from?
This is from an agent.
Great day.
Yeah.
So I've had an exceptionally amazing year. I do goal setting and goal planning for 2022. Honestly, I don't put gas in there. I don't know why, because that's what we spend.
You write a business plan every year?
Yeah.
Good for you, man.
And 1, 3, and 5 year business plan.
Good for you,
and I
man.
keep, but honestly, no, the gas is a good one because as we think about as realtors, we spend at least half our lives in our cars driving around to spots.
It's your office.
Yeah, literally. And trust me, my wife will look at my car and be like, had lunch again at McDonald's, huh? It's our office.
Well,
And
that's
so-
the industry, right? The industry's gone away from the brick and mortar,
Yeah.
the large statement. But I would encourage you to put
Well, let
that
him
in there.
finish the answer.
Sorry,
God.
sorry, Mr. Miller. I got all excited when he said yes on the business plan.
So yeah, no, there's certain things that obviously, thank you for that question. I'm probably going to look it up later so I can know what to add into, my business plan for 2022. Even though I just finished, it, I have to do it again. Thank you. But no, I'm had an amazing year. I'm expecting to have, a very successful 2022 with where I'm planning to be in my own real estate business. So that's, you just have to do if you're a realtor, I usually start in November on my plan and my goals, and then usually about now I finish it up. So it takes about 4 to 6 weeks to sit down and really figure out where you were. And don't just do 2020 or 2021, do 2020, 2019, as long, a couple years in a row so that you can see averages and see where you were succeeding, where you were failing, things that you need to improve, things that you, just need to get better at.
And
just
if
really
you're a
look at-
first-year agent, still do it.
Yes.
Matter of fact, that's when you really want to do
Yes,
it.
because when you first do it as a new agent, you're just going to be bleeding money.
Yeah.
Out, and you just need to understand, it's going to cost some money as a realtor. And also, too, you're not going to get your first. In an ideal world, if you were to start a real estate right today and you got your real estate license, in an ideal world, perfect setting, it will take 60 days to close on your first house, even though none of that will actually happen. So you won't even get your first paycheck for 60 days. That's like the perfect storm to get your first paycheck. So you can go 3, 6,
That's
9
if you
months.
walk in with a contract.
Yeah, exactly. If you walk in with a contract. So you can go 3, 6, 9 months before you get your first sale.
They answered the question because because we come from the business background. I keep a pretty religious. Our gas has gone up year over year, probably about 25%, and it is cutting into the bottom line. And
How much?
The dollar. I'd have to pull up the spreadsheet. I don't have it in front of me, but it's kicked into about 25%. It's several $1,000s over the course of the year. Now, keep in mind, I got 2 vehicles.
And also wear and tear.
Wear and tear. We just thank you for doing it.
The opportunity costing your time.
And we just put a new set of tires on on the 2 vehicles. So, yeah, it's adding on that. And that 20-minute drive is kind of not really 20 minutes anymore. It's more like the 40 to 45 minutes. Because if you're trying to hit that certain price point, that's where you're
Hey,
going.
I love the windshield time. Allows me to catch up on more phone calls than I ever get done sitting in front of a desk.
Well, that's
There you
because.
go.
So, how much time do you spend on the road a day?
It depends. I can, Monday, I can be in Bristow outside Manassas, and then have to be in Charlottesville. It depends on how I build my
You
schedule.
do some road
I do
time.
some road. I work with agents down in Roanoke, Virginia Beach, Richmond, here, Fredericksburg. So
Yeah.
if I'm taking the time to treat everybody the way that I want to be treated, I want them to feel like I'm involved in helping their business. I need to get some face-to-face time. So
What's important to
trying to
say,
schedule
to
that
add
all
to
out.
that, is your back office help that you have that allows you to
100%.
do that. And you
Yes.
should talk a little bit about that.
So my team is what allows me to do everything. Amada is in fact going to Mexico next week, and I'm having a minor panic attack about that. But she's like, she asked, she's like, do you need me to teach you to do anything? I'm like, I'll be okay, thank you. I'll just
Boy, that sounds like Emily.
Sounds like Jay Dobbs over here. Sounds like Judah. Neil Williamson's got a question for Scott. Is such competition between licensed agents a bad thing? He was talking about the additional folks in the loan space. And Neil's very much a free market guy, the president of the Free Enterprise Forum.
No, but what it does, we're in an industry where
You have people's futures in your hands.
well, yeah, this is all, but that's going to weigh itself out. But 10% of your production is, 90% of your production is done by 10% of the people, and what that increases risk for isn't that these licensed insurance people are going to be getting your clients a better deal. It's the fact that it creates more risk of failure for the transaction by unskilled people saying, I know how to do this.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, I mean, let's look at braces. If you have a very complicated case and you don't know that you have bone loss and you sign up for Smile Direct Club and you go move your teeth and one of them falls out, did you get a better deal because you saved $2,000 versus going to speak with a actual person who's going to take x-rays and treat it that way? No, you did not. Just like if you lost your earnest money deposit and you didn't get into a house and you had to beat the clock on a date of rent that you had to be out by the end of a lease because your insurance agent said, hey, baby, we got you. At the end of that, were you happier with the way things went? Probably not.
Hey, baby, I got you.
Hey, baby, I got you.
Hey, baby, I got you. Come on, Kevin, jump into this. What's on the? I can see those wheels turning. What's going on in between those
Is that
2 ears?
is that how you charmed your wife, Kevin? Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
That was just this morning, right?
Yeah. First thing is, as soon as
He's getting a fourth kitchen remodel with on this answer right here.
all right, so got a little hot in here. I'm gonna take this sweater off.
Oh, look at the time.
Whoa. We're closing, aren't we? It's all over with.
No.
Oh my gosh. Go ahead, Keith.
So I'm going to throw a little more data at it and see what you think. And we've kind of talked a little bit about this driving out, but the key 22 key housing trends and demographics. The suburbs are just blowing up still, and this was happening prior to the pandemic. Are you seeing buyers moving out into the country where the internet is better, or is this just more of a national trend? What are you seeing locally?
Oh, locally, yes, most definitely. I mean, the suburbs, if anything comes open in, let's call it suburbs, Forest Lake, something like that, it will go on a contract within minutes. It seems like when you go farther out into Nelson County, into some of those areas, as long as they have good internet, they're going to sell really quickly. A lot of people moving there.
Well, we can quote this. We did it last Friday. We went up 53% year over year, Nelson County.
Yes, and I've had numerous buyers out there, and I know our office has also. So, it's just hot everywhere. I don't care. I mean, I've seen some dumps that have sold within days that in the past would have sat for 90 days, 120 days.
We talked about that the last time we were on. Yeah.
So, Kevin, how's this inventory going to get fixed? We've got to fix it, right?
Be honest.
Right. Honestly,
Yeah,
this
fix
is
it,
four guys having a cup of coffee.
Yep.
Nobody's watching. It's okay. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
Be honest.
don't worry about the camera.
Don't worry about the camera.
Don't worry about this living on the internet forever. And
Don't worry about
seven real
that.
estate firms watching.
Don't
this
worry
live
about that.
speak.
So you're
So, as I said early on in
you can have the magic wand with this, and you can wave the magic wand and predict
wave the
it.
magic wand.
and
Would
make
you like
the.
the jester's hat or a silver?
I got both of them. All right.
Yeah. Would you like the hat?
No, we're good. We got
Okay,
that.
all
Yeah,
right.
the hair we talked about early on, everybody. All right, the hair. So as I mentioned early on, when we first started in October of 2019, we're at about a 4.6% monthly inventory, 4.6 months inventory. And then in October of 2020, we're down to about 2. Right now, we're at 1 month inventory.
Yeah.
And I do not see that changing anytime soon. We're going to be stuck there because new builds taking a long time to get completed. Excuse me, new builds taking a long time to get completed. There's just not many houses coming on the market. We will see an uptick probably in April because that's when people start to move the kids into the schools,
Sure.
and then they're going to be moving. But honestly, we're going to be in this trend, in my opinion,
For years.
I don't know, a while.
Well,
I'm thinking definitely 2022 into 2023.
Well, and let's add the fact that we have outside firms setting up shops here in Charlottesville and bringing outside talent that's paid six figures coming in, eating up housing inventory. I mean, that's happening right now.
so you might want to give a little detail to that, because for those who watch and listen, there's some new jobs coming in.
There's multiple firms around Charlottesville's downtown mall that are bringing talent from outside Central Virginia to staff the offices here in Seaville. And the University of Virginia has said it's going to admit more students than ever before and hire more staff than ever before. So that's going to eat up housing inventory. I mean, I don't see this going from a seller's market anytime soon. I mean, maybe even to 2023.
Yeah, no, I definitely think 2022 into 2023, we're just going to be with the inventory being probably about 1 to 2 months worth of inventory.
So just for those who are not real estate agents, those who are not in the space that we're in, when you say 1 month inventory, just to put a verbal picture to that, that means if no other homes come on the market, within 1 month, there's zero homes on the market.
Every single home be sold, we're getting
Yeah.
nothing out there.
Yeah, so again, magic wand, you've got two of them. What if you had a magic wand that you could wave, what would be this one or two things that you would do to kind of change this inventory question a little bit?
Please say less restrictive BS from local government with creating new housing stock.
Well, that's red tape into green tape.
Yeah. 24% the cost of a newly constructed home is red tape. That seems pretty bogus to me.
Yeah, I mean, all the new construction we have going on, it looks like we have tons of new construction going on in order to add to the inventory, but, it's just getting stuck in red tape where they're trying to get new developments started up, and other times they're getting these developments started up, but then we have the supply shortage that kicks in where they can't get anything. And also, too, there's just nobody wanting to sell their homes, because if I have to sell my home for $400,000, I'm going to have to buy a house for $450,000. I just don't have the money, and I don't have the equity. Yeah, I don't have the equity in the house. So these magic wands are broke. For right now, in my opinion.
I'll bring them back I'll call Amazon and have them return them.
Yeah, get a refund. Get a
You got
refund.
these from Shenanigans on West Main. not Amazon.
Actually, he's right.
You got 'em
And the
local.
scary thing is, we didn't talk about this, and he knows that's where I got him from.
Jim
We are
Taylor
spending
and
way too
Andrew
much time.
Gibbons giving Kevin some props here. Another question for both the agents that are watching the program. Because the market is so hot, are you seeing more people becoming agents than ever before?
Well, since you are in the management thing, I'll
Thank
let
you,
you.
Spencer, for that.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of agents jump in because you hear the news like, oh, the housing market's hot, houses are selling great. And I see influx of realtors coming in, and they're not going to last, because they think that they're going to get a house sale real quick. I had one agent who was here for like 3 months, did get a house sale and bounced.
Yeah, well, the average new agent does not last.
80%
Yeah.
of first-year agents quit, or 80% of new agents quit in the first year.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
80%.
And the other impact that we have locally is that the fact that we're seeing more Northern Virginia agents down in our marketplace
yeah.
on that end of it. So that number just expands a little bit. But I'm trying to get you to come up with the magic answer, and apparently the wands are broken. I'll have to bring them back to shenanigans.
Yeah, take them back to shenanigans because, unfortunately, it's just going to be a seller's market for my next 12 to 16 months at least.
But it's important for the buyers not to give up, right?
No,
So
that's why you set the expectations early on with them.
So Scott, Mr. Predicto, are we going to go over 4% this year, 2022? Should we ask Mr. Predicto?
I mean, the mechanics are there.
The mechanics are there to go over?
For some people, yeah. I mean, depending on credit, yeah. You're perfect, everything, we probably get to 3 3/4.
So does that change the inventory in your opinion, Kevin?
No.
It just limits the buyers. It doesn't change the inventory.
It goes from
It trims
But
buyers.
I don't even think it even trims buyers because if they're being bumped up $500-900 in rent, and they can still get a mortgage payment that's less than what they're paying in rent. I mean, they're going to come out of the woodworks. I had some some clients last year. I was like, hey, I thought it's going to end. They're coming out of their rent around February, March, and they're going to be like, hey, Kevin, we ready to go and buy a house now? Go ahead and rent again if you can. If it doesn't go up. If it does go up dramatically, we'll see what we can find for you. But a lot of those people that went away and rented for a year, they're going to be coming out again and try to win some deals for them.
And we're in the process of helping a young couple do the same thing. They know their rent's going up about 6% next year, and we're out trying to find something now, which is actually really not a bad time to go out to look for homes on that end of it. It's just the inventory isn't there.
Can I highlight this? And you guys know this. I'm a landlord. So when I'm doing my leases here, the renewal term and the renewal rate and the percentage increase is very clear cut. The leases where the tenant is shocked that the rent is going up $900 year over year or 7% year over year how do they get into that predicament here?
Because you're thinking commercial lease,
Well,
sir?
even my residential ones, it clearly says, the graph says, this is the
Yeah,
renewal term.
well-
Are they signing leases that say that the term or the
One-year
monthly
term.
rent can increase and we don't know what it is?
So we're gonna-
60 days before it's
in
over?
New York, supposedly that's a super normal thing because they're having the most amount of the percentage increase is like off the charts. It's crazy town.
So the percentage increase is not clearly defined in the lease?
Correct.
It's not necessarily. Sometimes it is. Maybe yes, maybe no,
So
yes.
should the tenant, that would be one of the main things they look at before they're signing the lease,
Yeah.
what the renewal is going to be.
That's
Doesn't
assuming,
that seem like
that's
common-
assuming they have a trusted advisor to help them navigate through that lease. But
There's
it's not
tenants
uncommon.
signing leases that don't know what their renewal increase is going to be?
People don't read the terms and conditions on anything.
Oh,
That
yeah.
is bananas to me.
Yeah.
DocuSign, just click, click, click.
Yeah, so we're bringing Susan Reel from Ally Property Managers on the 20th to literally talk about this topic, about that end of it. So if you rent something from her, and in her lease agreement, it's very clear.
It should be.
But here's the difference on the, and any real estate agents out there, please chime in and correct me, and Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong. But there's typically not a uniform lease, right? So when we buy and sell, we're using uniform.
Over and over, yep.
You use the Virginia Realtors contract.
That's exactly right. So it's not a uniform lease. It's very different. It changes from location to location. But it's, it doesn't say, it must say in the lease that it knows what your increase is
Maybe my
on.
leases need to be changed over here. I mean, you're basically saying you can leave it that vague and renew to whatever you want with
Well,
60 days notice?
So it's a double-edged sword, right? Right now, it's great because everybody, if you're in the landlord situation, we know, but a
You
few,
have the leverage.
but a few years ago, it wasn't so much, right? And if you have an automatic increase in it, you're at least covered by that end of it. But at the moment, finding a rental is almost, if not,
Harder than buying a home.
that's
Yes.
exactly right.
And which gets even more difficult for the credit challenged, who then get into a position of where do they go? That is, when we talk about affordable housing, that's the other side of it that I think is a super pain point for a large portion of the community that doesn't get discussed. We talk about first-time homebuyers, but we don't talk about somebody who went through a bad marriage or divorce and had a spouse that screwed their credit up, and now they can't go rent because they're middle income and they've got a credit score that a landlord won't look at. Like, I can't help you from a mortgage perspective. I can show you how to fix some problems, but in the meantime, you're asking where do we, you've got an agent and me going, where do we place you? And I'm like, I can't help you on this end, and the agent's going, well, what do we do? I mean, that's a huge.
So I'll play a little bit off of that. I chair the Regional Housing Partnership, and we had a meeting, a full committee meeting Wednesday, on Wednesday, and there was a report in there that tenants are now requiring, which is illegal, 3 times the income
Yeah, this
to
is-
rent, which is illegal. And they're getting,
Landlords are requiring what?
that you have to, so if your $1,500 a month rent equals X dollars in salary.
$1,500, that means you've got to have $4,500 a month in income. Whereas a mortgage, you have to, the most you're going to go to is 55%, so $3,200.
And they're requiring it 3 times that amount. Not only charging you $900 more, they're saying your income has to be 3 times,
Higher.
which is illegal on that end of it. But it's important what you just said, right? So if I'm going to rent.
Thank you.
30 years, right? So what did you say before about me?
We'll let that go.
Chamomile.
Chamomile, that's it. And warm milk and cookies. That's right. Cookies, right. That may be why the waste is the way the waste is on that end of it. But that's important, right? So if I'm getting my $900 coming up, right, and I'm going to rent from the landlord, and I have to have double the income, it's cheaper for me to buy. And
Yeah.
explain how that process works.
So the process as far as just getting qualified, let's start an application. Like, contact your realtor, contact me directly. Let's look at all your options, because if your rent is more or close to more than 50% of your income, you're already paying more in rent than what you could use to qualify for a mortgage.
Say that again.
If your rent is more than 50% of what your income is
Per month.
per month, you are already paying more in rent than what you would be paying and qualifying for a mortgage.
So that's got to be a good KPI for a loan officer, that they see someone who's paying their rent on time, and it's such astronomical rent, then they can make a lower mortgage payment.
100%.
That's a good payment history.
Versus 100% if I'm going to rent.
Yes.
Legally,
Yeah.
100%.
Correct.
And they're now doing 3 times, which is illegal.
The question for Kevin, what percentage of your clients are purchasing a townhome that originally thought that they wanted a single-family detached?
Well, great question.
That is a good question. So they've started off looking for a single-family detached. The market's hot. They can't, get that house. So then they found a townhome that they can afford. So I'd say probably 25 to 30% of the clients that I've dealt with are going from a detached to a townhouse that they did not consider in the beginning. Because when we sit down and set expectations, they tell me the things that they want. I want a detached home, half an acre, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, 3 months later, they're in a townhouse. So I'd say about 25% of my clients end up going towards a townhouse.
How about condo?
Usually with a condo, and Keith, I'm not sure with your clients, but usually with a condo, they are set on a condo. So it's not they're going from a detached to a condo, because that's such a downgrade in the square footage and everything like that. So a townhouse makes more sense to them, but to move from looking for a detached home to a condo rarely happens.
We're not a condo community. We don't really have a lot of condo options in our region, and finding ones that are warrantable is even harder, which is even harder for that. So you can turn them over to Scott, so Scott can lend you money on it. My experience is the people that I talk to on condos, usually my age and up, 60 years and up. I want an elevated building. I want to go up. I want somebody to take care of everything. I want to walk to Three-Notch Brewery or whatever it is and go ahead and do that. That's generally my clients that are looking at that, and generally it's all cash and the numbers are high. You're not looking at entry-level purchases in condos in our area. They're substantially up there in price.
Amanda Spagoni is watching.
Hey, Amanda.
She says, and she's going to give us the Virginia Realtors rental criteria for income in a rental dynamic. She's going to give us that exact language here in a matter of moments from the Virginia Realtors contract.
Isn't this great?
Yeah, agents offering perspective on what we're talking about. Amanda, say hi to Rick Spagoni. Love Rick Spagoni. Before we close, and I want to get her language, she's typing this as we speak. Okay, gross income, here's Amanda Spagoni. Gross income for single person should be at least 3 times the amount of the rent.
That's not legal. And we're going to have to bring some people on to talk about that. That violates federal law. You can't have 3 times the income on rental. And we'll have to save that for a different show on that stuff, and I'll pull some of the data on that.
Okay. Kevin, your thoughts on 2022 as we wind down here?
Yeah, my thoughts on 2022, especially if you're a realtor, set the expectations with your clients. Let them understand that it's still a seller's market, and you're going to have to do any and everything you possibly can in order to get a house. So 2022 is still going to be tough for buyers. Sellers, if it's a good price, good location, good condition, more than likely it's going to sell within a matter of days. There are some sellers out there who are, let's say the house normally should be about $350,000 and they're going to try to get $400,000 for it. Those houses are sitting, and a good realtor, a buyer agent will help you understand and do a CMA for you that $400,000 house is not a $400,000 house. It is only a $350,000. So we do see that some in this market right now, that houses are overpriced. But overall, just set the expectations with your realtor, with the clients, and just get with a lender right out of the gates. So then you know right away what you can and can't afford. I usually tell my clients to say, hey, let's not look at a $300,000 price. Let's look at, I've been talking like rent. If you're paying rent of $1,200, get with your lender, and then they can say, hey, you can afford up to $1,500. I think that makes more sense, is to look at the actual what you're going to pay per month and what you can afford. Because if you're making $3,000 a month, you're paying $1,500 in rent right now. Then you get with somebody like Scott, you work out the numbers, you can afford a $240,000 house for $1,100 a month in payments. That's key, is to set it up that, hey, what can I pay per month in order to get a house? And then from that, you might end up getting a $300,000 house, but you only pay $1,250 for it.
So I'm going to go back to
So-
Amanda's comment. Amanda, I'm going to go ahead and talk to Suzanne Reel, the Commission Piedmont Housing Alliance, because these were the folks that were on this call, and make sure that my information is correct, and we'll tackle this again on Monday, on the Monday Market Monitor. I just want to throw out there, in case I made an error, we'll correct it on
She
Monday.
said combined gross income for married person should be 3x the amount of rent.
Okay.
Gross income for single person should be at least 3x the amount of rent.
Yeah, I'll look into that and report back
We should
on
get
Monday.
Amanda back on the show, too.
We'll do.
Scott Morris, any final words? And thoughts on 2022 as well?
Thoughts on 2022? I think it's going to be very similar to this year. We're going to see waves of inventory come on where things are easier for buyers, and that's why having a trusted professional like Kevin and Keith is the most important thing you can do. So you don't go through finding something on Zillow that's already under contract and then being behind the curve. You're with me or someone like me who gets you pre-approved. You have a plan where you have a team of trusted advisors that has educated you on, from the moment that you take that pre-approval and make an offer, what your total closing time and money all looks like. But I think we're going to see. I think we're going to see a little more. I'm optimistic in the inventory going into early next year. I think April is probably later than we get there. I think we can start seeing things happen a little bit faster than that. With where people's mentality. Part of this is COVID related, as people are more and more getting away from being trapped in their homes. I think you're going to see a little more movement and hopefully a little faster, and there's enough pent-up demand there to drive people on the listing side as much as on what exists on the buy side.
We hope.
If we
Live your life, people.
If we can't increase inventory from a new construction perspective and a development perspective on that end of it, I don't see us working through this inventory anytime soon, to be frank with you on
Yeah,
that.
Kevin echoed that.
Yep.
I agree with that, but I think we're going to see waves, ebbs and flows, where we see stuff come on and where things are kinder for buyers, and then we'll go through tighter periods. But it's going to be a bit of a wave through the next year. And for those distressed properties, if you've got a lender, an agent, and maybe a builder that has a plan where we could go in and do like a reno loan where you could stay in a rental for 6 months, get in and rehab a property to move into, that could be an option for you as well.
Diane Miller said you did a great job today, Kevin.
Thank you, Diane.
I want to echo that. You were very good in this setting.
Oh, thank you.
Very likable dude. Keith Smith.
No, continue on with this stuff.
Okay.
I'm
more
kidding.
Hold on, I'll take it over. Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, the sweater raised the
Thank you. Hey, the tie, also
the
look at
GQ,
the tie.
yeah, well, this is sponsorship for St. Jude's,
Yep.
which my wife and I contribute to, so,
50%
but
of that tie, in fact.
50%, look at that, huh?
Good memory.
Was that chamomile tea you were drinking today?
So it keeps me
Hey,
sharp.
Kevin, thank you.
Yeah,
This is the
Kevin,
first
thank
time we've ever met,
Yep.
so this
Kevin's
is,
great.
Yep,
that
thank
you're
you.
super
Thank you.
comfortable, and we will invite you back on a regular basis if you're willing to sit down and chat with
Chamomile
us.
tea will be on me.
Okay.
Nice. We got a bar over there too.
Yeah, that's the
Maybe
one,
we should
that's
add
kind
that
of
to the
more
bar.
my style, but okay, if you want a chamomile tea.
Keith Smith, great show today.
Thank you, Mr. Miller, as
Diane
always.
also says Scott and Keith as well.
Oh,
Thumbs up.
thank
Yeah,
you. Thank you.
yeah.
I've known her for a very long time as well.
Well, I think I beat you on that. How long have you known Diane?
I don't know. You probably longer.
20
yeah,
years.
Yeah, 20 years.
Yeah, 20 years, yeah, pretty close. That's just scary.
That just says we're old. Yeah.
You had 8 different firms watch today's show. This is Real Talk, guys, and on Fridays we do Coffee with the Stakeholders. Kevin and Scott embody that moniker undoubtedly. Segura Solar, Dave Fafara at Shenandoah Joe's, American Pest, Interstate Service Company, Dairy Market, Ross Mortgage, Pearl Certification. Just some of the fantastic partners of this show and the network and of Real Talk. Great show.
I've got Joe Gentile and Tad coming in for January. He's coming down from New York, and we're going to be talking food, which I'm excited about.
Logan Wells, Claylo says this was
Hey.
a fantastic show. Multiple agents saying this was a great show. You guys do A+ work here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A+ work. Thank you for joining us, guys.
It was
There's
all the ones.
Juan.
It was
I
all the
love
ones.
Make the magic happen, baby.
Kevin is a cool guy. I Love Seville show, guys, is up in 40 minutes here on this network. You guys have a good morning. Enjoy your Friday. Take care.
See you later, guys.
Kevin, you did a great job.
Thank you.
Outstanding, Kevin.
No, good job, everybody.
A lot of people